Hello there, this is Talk and it is Petrie, and another couple of messages. Kaz is saying, yes, it's fantastic news. So that's the news about the phoning coming back. And Jackie sent feedback at Talk. It's an email, Jackie, so you have to send, I think we're going to put it up on the screen, I think. But feedback at Talk, that's what's got this change. It's you guys sending in to feedback at Talk. So keep it going, and you know, we'll make sure that it stays with the phone in at midnight, right? So feedback at Talk. Petrie Hosken, I can't believe you've reduced Petrie Hosken's slot. I really miss her 3 hours. 2 hours just isn't enough. Make me blush, thank you. So if you send that as an email, Jackie, that will go straight through to, there it is, it's on the screen, feedback at talk.tv. So keep those messages going, because they do get read, and they do have an impact, because we're bringing it back. Right, let's move on to our next topic now. And Paula Higgins joins me, a Chief Executive of the HomeOwners Alliance. And Paula, it's good to meet you. Thank you very much indeed for joining me. Property's such a hot topic at the moment, but for all the wrong reasons, right? I mean, the market's cooling, you know, mortgages are set to go up again. It is a time when a lot of people say, thank God I'm not a homeowner, or, you know, or desperately trying to get on the market and thinking, well, if the market comes down, maybe I will be one day. But with homes being so much in the news at the moment, what is if I can just ask you quickly before we get into the other topics, what is the point of owning, if you like, at the moment, with the mortgages going up and down and people really, really struggling?
Well, I mean, we are a nation of, we love our homes, really. There's lots of points to owning your own home if you know, it's giving people choice, really. So people like to have their own front door, they've got security of tenure, and actually, to be honest, renting in places is actually quite expensive now. So you're putting your money towards your mortgage as opposed to your rent and giving it to somebody else. There's lots of reason why people might want to own their own home, but what we believe is that we want to give people choice, really, and it shouldn't be just because you've got a bank of mum and dad that you get onto the property ladder and you start to increase your asset. It should be something that should be open to everyone. So we lobby for increased supply, more affordability products, and really trying to be the voice of the homeowner and those who aspire to own.
Yeah, I mean, it breaks my heart with my son and his girlfriend paying an eye-watering, more than a mortgage would cost them,
Yes.
to rent a one-bedroom flat. But it's just trying to get the deposit together and all of those things. It's absolutely heartbreaking at the moment, and that's set to get worse, isn't it, for landlords now thinking about getting rid of their properties because that's all becoming too complicated. There's not enough profit in it anymore.
Yeah, but I mean, you're right in terms of rentals, perhaps, but actually, you know, the landlords getting rid of properties might be more opportunities for first-time buyers to buy those properties. And there have been some movement on affordability. So, for instance, there's been relaxation affordability rules. You can maybe get more of a multiples of income. So I think people who might have looked for a mortgage maybe a year ago and felt that they couldn't afford it and no one would lend to them, I'd suggest them to look again, really, because things have changed. You're right that the deposit is really, really hard to get, but there are 100% mortgages out there. So I'd recommend for, you know, don't give up, but, you know, speak to a mortgage broker and see maybe there can be something to be done.
Yeah, I mean, in my day, because I'm very old, it was 100% mortgages and self-cert. So we just all lied about what we were earning, and they went, oh, okay.
Yeah, no, that doesn't happen these days. I mean, you have to show proof of income, and you've got to, like, you know, they'll look at your outgoings. But you can not rig the system, but, you know, maybe before you're putting in your mortgage is to maybe cancel some of your subscriptions, show that you are, you know, you're quite sort of, you're used to using your money and being quite sensible.
Yeah, I would have never got on the ladder had I not completely lied. I was probably, it's gone now, so it's not fraud anymore. But anyway, everybody did it. Everybody did it. Listen, before we get on to leasehold versus freehold, which I'm fascinated about, which I do want to talk to you about, I do want to mention these thousands of homes. This is all over the papers about all these people through a government scheme had their properties insulated either under a grant or under a loan, and now it turns out that a lot of cowboy builders were doing it. There was no trademarking to it. There was no oversight to it. In fact, some of these builders even lied and said they'd done work and got paid millions of pounds. How can this happen? I mean, this is taxpayer money.
I know it's absolutely shocking, and we commented quite extensively on the report by the National Audit Office yesterday. And we're talking like, 98% of the homes that were insulated under this scheme, they've got some problems with them, and there is a small minority who've got some serious problems that need to be rectified immediately. So I would say that if anyone has had insulation done under the Great British Insulation Scheme or one of the eco schemes, is you can find the advice on our website, but don't panic. But you can contact, there's a helpline for the Ofgem, and they'll come and audit your house and they will rectify things if things aren't right. So government's on it, but it's just a shocking experience to get there in the first place. So it's a whole sort of showing that, builders aren't regulated, that there isn't oversight, which is one of the reasons why people don't like to get building work done in their homes, because they're frightened.
Yeah, oh my God, trying to get a builder. I have become a master at fixing my own stuff now. But not because I particularly love it, but because you can't get reliable blooming builders anymore.
You don't know what their creds are like. So even if you find something on one of the sort of, websites or whatever, is people can pop up and become a builder overnight and then disappear as well. So that's why you've really got to do your checks carefully. And we do campaign for sort of better regulation of builders. In this case, it was terrible because there is a government sort of trust mark scheme which should have oversight over this, but clearly it failed in this instance.
Because it was all subcontracted. This is what these people do, isn't it? But also, it's not just a case of damp coming back through. Some of the work that was done is actually dangerous. It's blocking flues, central heating systems. I mean, this is really dangerous stuff, right?
Yeah, and we're a bit worried that, because we're worried that sometimes with these sort of announcements that it actually gives an opportunity for cowboy builders to then start knocking on people's doors saying, oh, if you had insulation done, it's dangerous and we'll come and fix it. So I'd like to reassure people that it is, it's approximately sort of 1,500 homes, they say, but you're right, exposed live cabling, blocked boiler ventilation, which is why it's really important to get the phone number, get the helpline, and speak to them, and please don't deal with anyone cold calling at all. We see a lot of stuff on spray foam insulation, so it's actually goes much. This is just a tiny little scheme, but we are inundated all the time with people being, who've got spray foam, who are getting forced to get it moved out. So just really don't deal with cold callers. Do your research, and think with your feet, really. Think with your head, really, and make sure you get the right tradesman for you, and don't get pressurized into doing anything.
Yeah, I moved into my place about 3 years ago, and I'm still searching for the right person to come and do some damp work for me.
Well, I found we used the builder on our street because actually I knew where he lived.
You know where he lives.
That kind of WhatsApp, the WhatsApp groups and things like that is sometimes a good way to go. But again, make sure that if someone has done fixed a few electrics, that doesn't mean they can do a whole renovation of a house. So it's also showing that they've got competence in the type of renovation or the type of work that you want them to do.
Yeah, my plumber's a local man. I see him in the cafes all the time. I'm like that. I know where you live. Let's have a look at talking of boilers, getting your home ready for winter, because it is coming. We just talked about insulation and how we can save a bit of money. And a lot of people say about our homes in this country, they're not really designed for any sort of weather. They're certainly not designed for the heat. But these older houses as well are not really designed for the cold either. So how can we best take advantage? I mean, the newer homes have all got to have all this insulation and all that stuff, European rules and everything. But what do you do with an older property that's a bit wind blown?
Well, it's difficult because that's one of the wrong problems with the previous story we talked about, that it might not be appropriate to put in insulation. But there's easy things you can do. We say getting your home ready. Get your boiler serviced now. Get your gutters cleared. Look to see if there's any sort of because there'll be probably extreme weather, some rain. Look at your roof tiles. Getting those basic things fixed is good. And then there's also things you can do to keep yourself warm, like drafts. draft excluder. So there's some simple things you can do and not sort of have to fortune, but just, maintain your house is your biggest asset. You need to also maintain it as well. So now's the time to sort of winterize and get yourself ready and cozy for the winter months.
Yeah, it's that maintenance is never ending. Right, over to leasehold versus freehold. And I read extensively into this. Where does this apply? Again, does it apply to like those Victorian conversions that have got 2 flats in them, as well as the high-rise blocks?
Yeah, so there's about 5 million leasehold properties in the UK, or in England and Wales, should I say, and they vary very much so from high-rise blocks to a conversion, a Victorian conversion. There is something called share freehold, so sometimes some of the smaller sort of houses being converted might be a share freehold, so that you and your neighbors all sort of own in the sort of the maintenance of it. But leasehold is really, you're actually paying a landlord or a freeholder for the right to live there. You might be paying ground rent. The freeholder will be responsible for the service charges, to maintain the property if the roof needs replaced or fixed and that sort of thing. So it can apply everywhere. And the government has been, we've been promised reforms for years to make it a bit more easier for leaseholders to extend. Because big thing is that a lot of leaseholders, they're only on, maybe 100 or 200 years rent, 100 years lease. And if it drops down below a certain amount, 80 years, you won't be able to sell because no one can buy with a mortgage, and you'll have to pay to extend that lease. So big message out there is to, check your lease, make sure you don't get below that 80 years. But there is government changes happening at the moment, and, watch this space, but it's super confusing. Again, we're keeping all this stuff updated on our site about the changes. So the government has promised to make it easier and cheaper.
But they have been promised. I mean, I think back in the 60s or whatever, they were trying to ratify this and to make it so this whole, because are we the only country in the world that does this still? The whole landlord.
Scotland's managed to get rid of it.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, yeah. And a friend of mine actually has just said he's bought a flat. It's a beautiful flat. But the maintenance, or not the ground rent, the yearly payment
charges,
so that's it. The service charge is just going up and up and up and up, and it's a way of making profit for these organisations. But they're talking about making it cheaper or forcing landlords to increase your lease much more cheaply, so they don't set the rate, the government would set the rate.
Yeah.
Does that, again, will that only, because I know some of these rules only apply to big blocks as opposed to small.
No, it's the same.
It's across the board.
Yeah, it's across the board, really. I mean, the government has, we've got a freehold and leasehold bill that's gone through that they're implementing. One of the tricky things at the moment is there's a judicial review. So freeholders who are, looking forward, they've had great income streams coming through, and the managing agents, they don't like this really. So, but we're constant in talk with government, and they are working to try to make it easier. And they've also promised a new form of tenure to actually abolish leasehold. This will take years and years, but common hold, and that is what the rest of the world has. So, or the condominiums, or strata, and they call it in Australia, and that means everyone has a share in maintenance and management. It might, there's also other, issues that you're going to have to sort of talk to your neighbours, and there'll be disputes, but at least it'll be fair because everyone's got a bit of skin in the game. So it's definitely worth, if you're a leaseholder, to read up on it and to understand what the changes are happening and how it will affect you.
Yeah, I read this earlier. It made me go, what? Report has recommended a ban on the use of the word sale for marketing homes on a leasehold title. It should actually be labelled lease rental. Then nobody's going to buy it.
Yeah, well, I mean, saying that, actually, I would say that actually, because there's been a lot of problems with leasehold, in particular with the high buildings, and what happened with Grenfell is actually leasehold properties haven't gone up in value as much. So you might get something out there, and if you are a first-time buyer, if you're living in London, you don't have any other choice. If you're going to live in a flat, it's going to be leasehold.
Fascinating to talk to you. Thank you. Really nice to meet you. Thank you very much indeed. Paula Higgins there, Chief Executive of the HomeOwners Alliance. We're talking tech next.